Hi everyone, welcome. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for joining us for this lesson on the verb aller in French. Aller is a very important verb in French. It is a very frequently used verb, so in order to really be able to communicate in French, you need to know the verb aller, to go. Here are a couple of things that you need to know about the verb aller. Aller is an irregular verb. Irregular means that you basically have to memorize the forms. There's really no way around it. Native speakers memorize just through practice, and you can do the same. Since it's irregular, only the nous form and the vous forms will resemble the infinitive. You'll see what we mean by that in just a second. So let's look at the forms now. First of all, I go. In the present tense, I go is je vais, je vais, je vais. I go, je vais. You go. This is the informal you. Tu vas, tu vas, tu vas, tu vas. He goes. Il va, il va, il va. She goes. Elle va, elle va, elle va. One goes or we go. On va, on va, on va. These are all of the singular forms. Let's look at the plural forms. We go. Nous allons, nous allons. Remember, by itself, this is just pronounced nous, but because allons begins with a vowel, we have liaison. Nous allons, nous allons, nous allons. You go, this is the formal you, the vous. Vous allez, vous allez. Notice again also the liaison. Vous allez, vous allez. They go. Ils vont, ils vont, ils vont. And they go with elles, elles vont, elles vont. Notice the different color here, and this is just to indicate what we mentioned before, that only the nous form and the vous form resemble the infinitive aller. So you see the ALL in both of those forms. Other than these two forms, the other forms do not resemble the infinitive, and of course, you must memorize those. So by itself, the verb aller is a very important and very useful verb. One of the things that we do with aller, one of the very important things, is we use aller with the preposition à, which means motion or direction towards, and then a place, a destination. So a noun that represents a destination, like the bank, the store, home, work, something like that. When we use aller plus a in a destination, we either use it to talk about our routine. For example, on Mondays, I go to the store. You might use it that way. On Tuesdays, I go to the bank. Monday through Friday, I go to work. So we're talking about routine. We could also use aller plus a in a destination in the present tense to indicate that you are going to that place at this particular moment or at a particular moment. So we'll look at some examples in just a minute. Okay, so let's talk first about places. Let's look at some nouns that represent places that we go or places that we are going to. So when you actually pick a particular noun, you know that nouns in French begin with either the L apostrophe, the la, or the le. And the a plus the article would be the equivalent of saying I'm going to the. Something happens with the a and the le, though we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's look at the first two. Some vocabulary: the school, l'école, the city hall, la mairie, mairie, the pharmacy, la pharmacie, pharmacie. The post office, la poste, la poste. The beach, nice place to go, la plage, la plage. The pool, also a nice place to go. La piscine, la piscine, la piscine. The bank, also a nice place to go if you have a lot of money there. La banque, la banque, la banque. So first let's put these together with the preposition. And we have to the school, à l'école, to the city hall, à la mairie, to the pharmacy, à la pharmacie, to the post office, à la poste, to the beach, à la plage, to the pool, à la piscine, and to the bank, à la banque. And now with the verb aller, here is our equivalent of I go in French, je vais. Remember, this can mean I go or I am going, just depending on the context. If you're talking about routine, it means I go. If you're talking about the actual moment where you are physically going to, then of course it means I am going. Okay, so here's the exciting and fun part. Do you feel the goosebumps? Whole sentences, complete thoughts in French. I go to the school or I am going to the school. Je vais à l'école. Je vais à l'école. Je vais à l'école. Okay, the next one. If you want to say I go to City Hall or I'm going to City Hall, je vais à la mairie. Je vais à la mairie. Je vais à la mairie. I go to the pharmacy or I'm going to the pharmacy, je vais à la pharmacie. Je vais à la pharmacie. I go to the post office or I'm going to the post office, je vais à la poste. Je vais à la poste. Je vais à la poste. I go to the beach or I'm going to the beach, je vais à la plage. Je vais à la plage. Je vais à la plage. I go to the pool or I'm going to the pool, je vais à la piscine. Je vais à la piscine. I go to the bank or I'm going to the bank. Je vais à la banque. Je vais à la banque. Note that some native French speakers might not make the liaison here. I noticed that in my experience most native French speakers do, but there are some that don't. Now let's see what happens when a encounters a le. Le cinéma, this is a grammatically masculine noun. What happens when a encounters le? A plus le is a mandatory contraction in French. It becomes o, o, o. So let's look at some examples here. The first one, je vais au cinéma. Je vais au cinéma. I go to the movies. Je vais au cinéma. Some other grammatically masculine nouns besides cinéma, le marché, the market. So we have au marché, the supermarket, au supermarché. Remember, this is le marché, so that's why we have the au. And le supermarché. Le restaurant becomes au restaurant. Le musée, the museum, au musée. Lit is bed, so if I want to say to bed, it becomes au lit, au lit. So if I want to say I go to the movies or I'm going to the movies, I would say je vais au cinéma. Je vais au cinéma. I'm going to the market. Je vais au marché. Je vais au marché. This can be I go to the market or I'm going to the market. I go to the supermarket or I'm going to the supermarket. Je vais au supermarché. Je vais au supermarché. I go to the restaurant or I'm going to the restaurant. Je vais au restaurant. I go to the museum or I'm going to the museum. Je vais au musée. Je vais au musée. I go to bed or I'm going to bed. Je vais au lit. je vais au lit. Again, a reminder about the liaison. There are many French speakers that in the case of vais and au, they don't make the liaison here. So you might hear je vais au cinéma, je vais au marché, je vais au supermarché, je vais au restaurant, je vais au musée, je vais au lit. Remember that you can use any of these destinations with any of the forms of the verb aller to express many, many ideas in French, such as you go to the movies, tu vas au cinéma, she goes to the supermarket, elle va au supermarché, you go to the restaurant, vous allez au restaurant, they go to bed, ils vont au lit. The possibilities are numerous. Congratulations, your ability to express ideas in French has just grown by leaps and bounds. There are some other important aspects of the verb aller, which I will cover in the next lesson, so be sure to join us for the next lesson, and we will continue working with the verb aller. So that's it for this lesson. Thanks so much for watching. To continue on to the next lesson, click on the video that appears here on your screen. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, I would appreciate it very much if you'd give it a like, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. See you soon. À bientôt.